President Trump's big lie is tested in a courtroom in Denver. Will the people spreading election rigging claims finally be forced to provide proof? The potential for an easing of the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for Colorado's health workers. A viral claim today says DIA employees rose up together, didn't show up for work, and defeated a vaccine mandate. Only one problem. There's no evidence it's true. Veterinarians are pleading for our understanding.
We want to see your pet. We just can't. And so we're trying to figure out there's only so much we can do.
And a sign that you can't come back from this particular turn. Next. A courtroom in Denver this week is the center of the debate over the big lie threatening America's elections. The conspiracy theory that the election was rigged against former President Trump by Antifa and Denver-based Dominion voting systems. A former Dominion employee, Eric Coomer, is suing to clear his name, suing the Trump campaign, and suing Joe Oltmann, the conservative leader from Douglas County who first made that Dominion election rigging claim. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger is along, so tell me, Marshall, will the people promoting the big lie finally have to put up some evidence?
Yes and no, because this is really about Eric Coomer, and instead of proving that the big lie was a lie, it's all about Coomer. He needs to prove that the people in the groups that he's suing lied about him and what they say he did, and that they did so with reckless disregard for the truth. What was said about him started with Colorado's Joel Oltmann, who started a conspiracy theory for which no proof has been provided, that Oltmann heard an Antifa conference call where Coomer admitted to rigging the election for Biden.
This plaintiff has to prove that it is false that he attended that Antifa meeting and that he made the statement that was attributed to him. He has to prove that that didn't happen. He doesn't have to prove that Joe Biden legitimately won the election. He doesn't have to prove that Donald Trump was deprived a valid and fair election. All he has to prove is that he didn't attend the Antifa meeting and he didn't make the statements that were attributed to him.
This photo from court today shows Coomer's team playing recorded testimony from Trump campaign attorney Rudy Giuliani. These last 2 days have focused on Coomer's team proving it has enough evidence to go to trial, and lawyers for defendants like Giuliani and Oltmann trying to get the case tossed. Oltmann was in court here at the City and County building yesterday, not today. Instead, he was on a podcast criticizing the judge who has his fate in her courtroom.
There are good judges out there. This is not one of them. This judge is corrupt. This judge marched in an Antifa protest in June of 2020.
He did not elaborate on what he meant besides what he said. No additional information about a judge and an Antifa protest. The claim he made about Coomer, however, if this continues to trial, Oltmann may need to provide additional proof besides, here's what I heard he said, it's true, trust me, end of story. Again, Coomer has to prove, however, that what was said about him in that supposed call was false and that it was done with actual malice, not that the entire election rigging conspiracy was a lie. Kyle, the courtroom is still going on right now. This is the last day, and I don't think there's going to be a decision from the judge. It's possible she could determine that some of the defendants are thrown out of the case, that they've proven, hey, you're not going to say we defamed you. I think she's going to take some time to go through all the evidence before we hear much of that, though.
You know, Marshall, I think that at some point this becomes really frustrating for people that don't think that there was an issue with the election and people that do think that there is an issue with the election, because court after court after court, the people making these election rigging claims have an opportunity. They have a venue to provide evidence if they so choose, and sometimes they haven't been able to, and in this case, they don't have to.
In a way, you will have evidence, but it's not, what's not on trial here, it's not the big lie that's on trial. It's simply somebody, one person saying, you dragged me through the mud and I'm going to sue you for it. And all that person has to do is prove how that happened, not that the entire thing, the big lie, came to be. So there's going to have to be a court case perhaps somewhere about the entire big lie if we want to see a definitive answer at the end about election rigging conspiracy theories.
And the guy who made the original Dominion Antifa election rigging claim, this local guy, Joe Oltmann of FEC United, I mean, he's an influential guy. He's collected loyalty pledges from a bunch of elected Republicans around the state, and he's consistent. Didn't like the voting system. They're in with Antifa. A journalist who doesn't write anything that he likes, that person's an Antifa journalist, and now the judge is Antifa too.
I can't imagine that's going to play well when she's determining whether he continues on in this trial or not. She will probably be fair to what she heard in the courtroom, but when you have something like that happening, also, I can't imagine that it doesn't have some sort of play in her mind as she's making a decision.
Marshall Zellinger reporting from outside court. Hurry back in, don't miss anything, Marshall. The Republican frontrunner for governor is losing her campaign manager. That news coming exactly 1 month after Heidi Ganahl kicked off her campaign against Democratic Governor Jared Polis. CU Regent Ganahl is Colorado's only statewide elected Republican right now, and she has acknowledged her campaign for governor is going to be a long shot. Today, we learned her campaign manager, Tiffany Coolidge, plans to leave the Ganahl campaign at the end of the month. Campaign spokesperson says this was the plan all along. We've asked the campaign manager, Coolidge, if that's true. We haven't heard back. Colorado's public health leaders have discussed relaxing the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for healthcare workers, though it is not happening soon, they say. Right now, all healthcare staff directly working with patients in Colorado must be vaccinated. So that covers people in hospitals, long-term care facilities, hospice centers. A state health department spokesperson said that they had discussed lowering that mandate threshold to 90%. There are some facilities, especially in rural areas, that are struggling with staffing. But the state's going to wait to see what happens with federal guidelines first. Denver's city mandate, the vaccine mandate for city employees, it does not apply to the 30,000 employees at the airport who work for contractors, although individual businesses out there can have vaccine mandates on their own. Anti-vaxxers online celebrated a viral claim today that restaurant employees at DIA rose up en masse and forced their employer to drop a vaccine mandate. But we can find no evidence that actually happened. And when we questioned the vaccine critic and writer who started the viral claim, she quickly deleted it. Resistance to vaccine mandates, even by small numbers of employees, is often seized on by anti-vax media outlets and activists. The claim involving the Denver International Airport spread quickly. A vaccine critic and writer claimed every restaurant on Concourse C was closed when employees revolted against a vaccine mandate and not one showed up to work. DIA spokeswoman Alex Renteria said simply, "This is false information." The vaccine mandate revolt claim came from Pam Long, a vaccine critic who recently led the Colorado Health Choices Alliance, which opposes vaccine mandates. I reached Long by phone and asked if she had any evidence her claim was true. "I'm not a reporter," Long said. "That's your job." Long is a writer for The Defender, a publication of the anti-vaccine organization Children's Health Defense. Long warned us not to air this fact check of her viral claim, saying, quote, "I would not run this story if you consider libel a threat." Within minutes, Long's claim about DIA was deleted. Colorado has rules that prevent new oil and gas drilling too close to homes. But new homes, well, they can be built right up to existing oil and gas operations. It's led to neighbors asking for real-time information on air quality and safety. Our Mark Salinger shows us a new approach.
In the town of Erie, the way the wind is blowing matters.
Absolutely. It's going to determine where the air is coming from.
Homes sit with oil and gas pads just beyond their backyards. Now there's something new in between.
These are gases that can't be seen or smelled. There's really no way to know they're in the air if you're not directly measuring them.
10 of these air quality monitoring stations were just installed around Erie, pumping out real-time information available publicly online about emissions coming from the oil and gas sites nearby, as well as from landfills.
This is the first step of a brand new era of air quality monitoring.
David Frank is the Energy and Environmental Program Specialist for the town of Erie.
How safe is safe? What levels are dangerous? Those are very difficult questions to answer, and with any difficult scientific problem, you have to start with collecting good data.
While there are strict rules regulating the emissions the sites produce, towns like Erie felt they didn't have enough information to determine what amount of exposure to dangerous compounds like benzene is safe. These new monitors can catch small emissions that could previously go overlooked.
My hope is that it will inform future legislation to ensure the safety of residents that live next to these facilities.
The study is primarily designed to understand what people might have been exposed to.
Erie is working with CSU to track the data, including Professor Jeff Collett. He's the head of the Atmospheric Science Department there.
When you're really close to a source like an oil and gas pad, things are changing so quickly. So even if you look now, 10 minutes from now, it might be different.
Real-time information designed to help answer questions.
You have oil and gas, you have development. How can they coexist the most safely?
Emissions can change very quickly based on wind speed and direction, and monitors that only measure air quality periodically can miss some of the pollution plumes. That's why this real-time monitoring is so important, and ultimately they'll get more data over time that'll help them understand if there are impacts from long-term exposures. Kyle, Erie is not the first town to do this. Broomfield is kind of leading the way, as well as Longmont and Boulder also trying it out.
So people get this real-time information, then what's actionable? What are they supposed to do with it?
Yeah, the CSU professor that I spoke with there, he says that you can use it to say, well, if there's bad air quality right now, I don't want to go for a walk or go for a run. But where it's really more powerful is going to be in the long term, where they say, all right, you've been exposed to this much benzene, for example, over this much amount of time. How is that impacting people who live right there? So it's both long term and short term, and that's what makes this so powerful.
Mark, thank you. Appreciate it. So all that reminds us, the state right now is actually looking for a new leader for its air pollution control division. Last guy is now out after an independent commission found that he failed to report conflicts of interest. Gary Kaufman was just moved into a different state job. He is now Deputy Director of Regulatory Affairs. That means he's going to oversee licensing, regulation, and enforcement for a bunch of industries. He moved into that new role Monday, about 2 weeks after a report found that his team had issued permits to a mining company that he had once represented. Independent investigation also looked into whistleblower complaints from employees who said that they were ordered to fake emissions reports. Those claims were unsubstantiated. A postal carrier shot and killed in Longmont this week is remembered as a devoted dad and a fun co-worker. His girlfriend's in custody for his killing. The people who care for our pets are requesting a bit more understanding from humans. And the metro area's weather looked like it wanted to do something today, just wasn't sure what. Corey Reppenhagen always finds the right words. Next. Sadly, the thing most Coloradans will remember about Jason Schaefer is that he was the postal carrier who was shot and killed on the job in Longmont yesterday. Those who knew him well tell us he'd rather be remembered as a loving dad and a guy who was way too excited to play on his work softball team. Police say that Schaefer's ex-girlfriend has been arrested for his killing. Devin Schreiner was taken into custody last night. She and Schaefer have a young son together. Arrest documents describe Schreiner threatening Schaefer, messages that he saved to show the court during their custody dispute. It's not clear if she knew that he had told the court that prior to yesterday's shooting. She used to work for the Postal Service, as he did. Co-worker told us today how much Jason loved fatherhood and loved their fall league softball team that they played on together. They plan to place his cleats at his position for tomorrow's game. This is October 14th, which means, without looking out the window, it is really anyone's guess what Colorado's weather might be doing on this date. Meteorologist and poet Corey Reppenhagen, he's always willing to attempt a concise summary.
Corey Reppenhagen is on the weather beat.
Courier of change, cold and forceful announcement. Winter makes the news.
That was Corey Reppenhagen on the weather beat. A little taste of winter and fall this afternoon. Some light rain showers cruised across the city. Tonight, a brief break, but I am looking at a little more rolling in this evening. For now, the rain showers stretching across the eastern plains. Still plenty of snow up in the high country through the foothills. And later this evening, we could see that rain-snow mix here in the metro. As far as this evening goes, these temperatures, they will be falling fast. In fact, we have a freeze warning across the I-25 corridor off to the northeastern plains. So protect your plants and, of course, the pipes, too. We're bottoming out into the 20s around the metro area, teens and low 20s up in the high country. So here we go. Overnight, the storm system quickly zips right on out of here. By tomorrow afternoon, nothing but sunshine, a beautiful Friday, and wait until you see a warm up that's on the way for the weekend. High pressure is around, so that's going to keep us dry tomorrow. Temperatures only sitting in the mid 50s for us here in the city, some 30s and 40s in the mountains. But look at this weekend, 70s and sunshine on Sunday.
It's a sign that there is one way in and no way out. Grace sent us the photo from Grand Lake, captioned "Profound Traffic Sign." She says it makes her laugh every single time she drives by the Grand Lake Cemetery. We saw it. We laughed too. I'm not certain what kind of people that makes us, Grace, but we are for sure the same kind of people as you. Veterinarians have a tough job trying to keep our best friends around for as long as possible.
Just please know that we're here to help and we are trying, and just be kind and patient with us because we're doing our best.
A request for compassion from an industry that specializes in it. Next. I remember driving by the vet's office during the pandemic, kind of did a double take because you'd have all these people out in the parking lot standing around with their pets or in their cars with their pets, because that kind of became the socially distanced waiting room, especially for those who come with somebody who prefers back end sniffs to handshakes for hello. Pandemic precautions, the way that it shook up staffing too, it impacted so many industries, veterinary care included. Veterinarians asked us to pass along their request these days. They'd like just a bit more understanding.
People love their pets. I mean, they're an extension of your family. So it's nice to work somewhere where people entrust you with caring for their pet.
Hi, kiddo. Yeah, sound real good.
It has been crazy the last year and a half or so in the veterinary world since the pandemic started.
Yeah, good doggy.
There are a lot of COVID pets, and then with those COVID pets, clients are at home with their pets a lot more, so they're noticing things that they may have not noticed before.
You doing real well?
Insanity busy. I mean, just crazy busy everywhere. Everyone is crazy busy. I don't know any clinic that is not busting at the seams.
Good job, Bubba. There.
We're seeing a lot more patients. Most clinics I know, including myself, have had to hire more support staff to help with answering the phones, taking pets in and out, and just trying to provide care to as many as we possibly can. But it is definitely a stress, because last thing we want to do is turn owners away and say, we don't have time for your pet, we can't see them today. Prior to COVID, you know, our typical wait time for an appointment was 1.5 to 2 weeks. During COVID, I mean, it got pushed out 2-3 months.
You good, mama?
Yeah. The first time in my 8 years of being open, we had to stop accepting new clients for a while.
Let's get you hooked up.
Just please know that we're here to help and we are trying, and just be kind and patient with us, because we're doing our best.
There. Such a good doggy.
Our thanks to the kind folks at Highlands Animal Clinic for sharing their perspective with our photojournalist Corky Scholl. Back with your feedback, a concern about all the time that I've been missing lately. Simple explanation. We'll do that next. Keith writes in tonight to say his wife's a vet tech. He appreciated the shout out for all the hard work that they do. Kathy Barnes writes in to say, just want to make sure that you don't have plans to leave. Kathy says over the past few months, others have been filling in for you every so often, and then remotely you'll chime in for a word of thanks. So, Kathy, if I'm being entirely honest about this, I think maybe other people can relate to this. I have a job that I love. So over the years, I have not been great about taking my allocated vacation days. It sometimes doesn't occur to me. But now I've got 2 little girls, 3 and 1, and I love them more. So I'm going to take more of my vacation. And I hope that that's cool with everybody. Thanks for being here, no matter who's sitting in the chair. I also like to see some of my colleagues put their spin on the show. I think they do a good job. See you next time.